Hey, what if you found out that the person that was holding you back was you? And sorry, it is. In most cases, what's holding us back is our limiting beliefs. What we think is possible, what we think we're good at, what we think we can do, and how we think the world perceives us. These are things that really hold us back and minimize our life. And we think that they're unchangeable. First of all, we think they're true. In a lot of cases, partially true. Maybe in the moment they're true. Maybe at a certain point in time they were true. Let me give you an example about myself. When I went to school as a little kid, first thing you learn is what? The ABCs. And they put the letters up on top of near the ceiling above the blackboard. And I looked at that and it looked like alphabet soup to me. It looked like I didn't recognize any of those letters. They made no sense. It was later diagnosed as dyslexia after I got out of school, just in time. Hey, thanks. Hey, Brian, we figured it out after the game's over. Well, it was interpreted then as I'm dumb, I'm slow. So you get put into the little short school bus and people think that there's something wrong with you, that there is a challenge there. And it wasn't very well managed. So I started to believe it. The world told me this. The results I was getting signal that I was dumb. Now, if you listen or read Malcolm Gladwell's book, David and Goliath, he has a whole chapter on dyslexia. And the ironic thing is, like any time that one sense or one ability is not equal or is good, people develop another. When blind people develop better hearing, deaf people develop better sensitivity to the reactions of people. In my last episode, somebody had a head injury and part of his brain was injured for a time, so he lost a sense of sarcasm from other people. So he had to develop it. He had to learn to interpret it in another way. And that's kind of what happened to me. I developed other skills. But then I also started to learn a lot of things from a lot of the people back then about mindset and everything. And I just kind of challenged it. And we're going to talk about this in great detail today. Because when I talk to salespeople all the time, this is typically what I hear. A lot of limiting beliefs. I'm too young. I'm too old. I live in the wrong area. I can't learn a new technology. I can't learn a new company. It's too late for me. It's too early for me. No one's going to give me a chance. Everyone's going to view me differently. Now, there's a lot of truth to all of those things, if you believe them. And there are limits, but is it something that is not that you can't overcome? Now, don't you hear it all the time from maybe your kids, your friends? I have a friend, all I hear is, oh, I'm too old. And honestly, it's not that he's too old. He thinks he's too old. Let's face it, and he's been doing sales his whole life. His skills are rusty. His adoption of technology is slow. He believes it, so he doesn't even try and doesn't want to hear it. So, okay, you've now built this cage of your own making, and you're the only one that holds the key to let yourself out, and you don't even want to let yourself out. Limiting beliefs are part of this mindset thing that I've been talking a lot about recently. I want to expand not just from sales skills and strategies, but to the inner game as well. It's something that I haven't spent enough time on the podcast in recent years. I've been really trying to differentiate A and B players, assuming that you already have this stuff. But these things are huge, and you see it all the time. You see these groups forming on social about whether they're whatever handicap they have based off of whatever they believe. Now, it reinforces that the world is a certain way. And and partially, this is the dangerous part of it, is that there's a little bit of truth to it if you believe it, if you let it happen. Now, the belief set, of course, the people come up with the physical, like if you can't be an NBA player if you're 5'2". That is true. But I'm not talking about being in the top 1% in the world. I'm talking about being in the top 10% in the world, where you're still making $1 million a year. You can't live on it, but it's a start. So it might be worth doing this. And why go through your whole career with a belief that's not helping you? And even if it's true. I'll give you another example. When I was probably in my teens, I got my first job at a technology company right out of high school. I was trying to get my college degree at night. But this job was, I started in shipping and receiving. And then there was a manufacturing company, and I talked to them, and the guy says, "Hey, would you be able to do some soldering and some, assembly of computer boards?" I go, "I know nothing about that. I'm not good with stuff." And he goes, "I'll show you, and you can decide then." And I basically had this mindset that I wasn't good at technical things. Now, it's kind of ironic that within 5 years, I was like one of the top software engineers at a company. I just changed my mindset. I just every day would reinforce that I can learn this if I do this, instead of you're not good at that. And that was kind of a family belief as well, that we're not good at technology or not good at fixing things, not good with your hands. Well, all of a sudden you believe it, but if you get on YouTube and you slow the video down, okay, how do you do it? You open this, you do this. And all of a sudden, if you broke it down, it was manageable. And, it still exists a little bit today, but I go through a certain routine about slowing it down, assuming that I'm wrong and the video and the instructions are right. Go figure that. The instructions might actually be right, that it worked. So let's get into this. I think you're going to get a lot out of it, and just experiment with it, because my guest today is somebody who has finished an Ironman and coaches companies completely. I do want to let you know two things. One is I'm putting this on the B2B revenue feed as well this week, because that's her market. But I wanted to share it with you because it's probably the biggest impact you can have in the shortest period of time, is changing your mindset about what you can and can't do, how the world either helps you or hurts you. Let's get into it. And one belief you got to have is video is the way to connect faster with people. If you check out my YouTube channel, Maverick Method on YouTube, or any of my videos on LinkedIn, I put them on both of my profile and the podcast page, The Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast page. You can watch them there. The ability to connect with people through video, and now I'm using humor. I'm trying to take my point and show a funny view of it, meaning the ridiculousness of not doing it, or how people believe that it can't work. So if you check those out, I think you'll enjoy them. But my point here is co-video is the way to do it through email. I've have students now in the class and podcast listeners who send me co-video emails, and I watch them every time. Why? Because it's so much more engaging than my typical in-mail, where people are just pitching me a time or text that I knew they cut and paste it because they sent it 3 times in a row and it's identical. Video, it shows intent. The intent is, I want to connect with you as a human being. I want to show you who I am so that you can get to know me. So check it out, covideo.com. Let's get into the interview. At the end, I'll sum it up and give you an update on the courses.
Okay.
Hey, Karen, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Brian. Glad to be on your show. Thanks for having me. Nothing remarkable here. I was just spent 20 years in the executive leadership space in corporate America, all the while had a humongous dream to compete in the toughest human endeavor on the planet called the Ironman World Championships as a total amateur recreational athlete. What I then found in finally pursuing that is not only what was holding me back, but was also holding me back in other areas of my personal and professional life. And then by achieving it through neuroscience techniques that I now employ by pioneering in our arena, in our part of the world, I was able to achieve that dream in 2 short years at the age of 46. And then it was merely, even though it was the biggest thing I could fathom at the time, it was merely a gateway to what I was really meant to do, and using my unique gifts and talents and living my purpose.
And what was holding you back? Was it a belief? Was it just habits or?
Yeah, it's a scientifically proven concept called limiting beliefs. Yeah. And the definition is when we think or say, I don't have enough money, time, talent, support, fill in the blank to achieve that. And, mine always was, well, I'm this recreational athlete, right? And they are elite athletes, professional athletes way up here. Yeah. I can't possibly bridge that gap and compete. Who do I think I am? Comparison bias also plays a big role in that. When we compare ourselves to someone else that we see doing what we want, or another experience that we want to engage in. And this all happens split second, instantaneously, unconsciously to us in our unconscious mind. And that's what fascinated me about it, because first of all, I'm fascinated with human beings. And that entire time that I was a senior executive, I was also an internal business coach. And I found that there were barriers that we couldn't get beyond. And I was always fascinated by that. What makes people really tick? What's the key to each person? And what I discovered then through this big, scary, ridiculous, outrageous dream of Ironman is the power of our unconscious mind, and where limiting beliefs and emotions and meaning and values and all of that stuff that really drives a lion's share of our actions and thoughts every day, that's where all of that stuff lives. So when you do work in the unconscious mind, you can make changes that are with more ease and sustainability. And that's why the name of my company is Velocity.
And a lot of people don't get this, do they? They think you can just reason your way through this, or it's the economy. It's something outside of me and what I have control over.
Absolutely. Yep. It's all out there.
It's their fault.
I'm all good. Yep. Everything's great here. It's all of you people. It's all of the outside stuff. It's the whole world that needs to be fixed. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Keep waiting for that one, because I'm sure it's going to happen. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna take the Mickey a little bit out on probably the primary group that I see doing that, because they're honestly too smart for their own good. They're engineers. Yeah. And I say that with love in my heart. But they're so cerebral, so intellectual, so used to being analytical that it's really difficult for them to first accept what I'm talking about, although they can feel in their gut that they know it's true, and from past experiences, and then to really dive in and hone in on that and how it really works. But once they do open up, it does work.
Because this is counterintuitive. I think we have these limiting beliefs to protect ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that it's a leftover from our unconscious mind caveman days, right? Oh. It was meant to keep us surviving one more day, right? If we could instantaneously size up whether something was friend, food, or foe, and then take immediate action, we could live another day, right? But the problem is it's sort of like a bug in the system that's still left over from then, and it doesn't serve us well. In fact, it really gets in our way, so much so that if we're not aware of what's happening and sort of how our operating system works, then we trip ourselves up. And what I like to say is that then we think it's a 4-letter word beginning with F that trips us up. Yeah. And that word is actually fact. Because we think, oh, well, this is a fact, it's I can't, win in the talent market, B2B sales, that, we're not going to be able to do whatever it is we're trying to do that maybe we haven't done before, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a broken record that just keeps playing, and habits that keep repeating until you become aware of it and do something to change it.
And what was your epiphany? Was it a life event, a book you read, a workshop you went to? What caused this? I'm sure I want to do an Ironman, but it ain't happening. Right?
Yeah. So it certainly is a journey and an evolution, but I would say the watershed moment, the light bulb moment for me was as I was pursuing the Ironman World Championships and I was training, what I finally realized in using neuroscientific unconscious mind techniques and also doing everything my coach told me, right? All of the physical things that are involved in training, 22 to 24 hours a week for 2 years straight to get there. Ooh. What I realized was that at the beginning, I thought that the key to success there was 90% physical, like what I did every day, right? And only 10% mental. The watershed moment was when I realized it was 90%. It was exactly the opposite, 90% mental and only 10% physical. Because here is a scientifically proven truth that if you think about our unconscious mind as a spectrum, right? And on one side of the spectrum is limiting beliefs that I just described. On the other side of the spectrum is our ability as human beings to carry out anything we can think up. And there are millions upon millions of examples of how this is proven out over hundreds and hundreds of years, right? But, and any icons of mega success that you can point to today, I don't care what market industry or whatever they're in, it's the same thing. If you can think it up, you have the ability to carry it out. That's just how it works. You're going to figure it out. And then your body, this physical mechanism is going to follow along. It will do anything that you tell it can do or that it can't do.
Now, I'm sure you probably read David Goggins' book.
Yeah.
The Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
And that's their belief also, is that the SEAL training, it's 100%, they consider it 100% mental.
Yeah.
But I'm sure a lot of people think that's fluff. I mean, what is the science behind it? What are the evidence that convinced you, other than you anecdotally seeing it in your own life?
Well, certainly something as huge and prolific and permeating as the Ironman. I mean, that was something that, I had no earthly idea how I would do it. I was not a triathlete before. I was primarily a recreational runner and mountain biker. I had never ridden a road bike. I was a terrible, terrible swimmer. In fact, I had two coaches. I had a swimming coach and a triathlon coach because I was so awful, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not like I was well suited or aligned or, had previously been in this world. I hadn't. I was like a fish out of water. And so I'd say that it's that primary experience that was so enormous, so gigantic, all encompassing, that showed me that. And, then I could look back also at neuroscientific research that's been done by, everyone from Erickson to Einstein to Carl Jung to Richard Bandler. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And by continuing to test it out myself, not only with this dream, but in all other areas of my life, my business, my relationships, my leadership, connections, selling. Oh my gosh. It absolutely changed everything in selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny because when I coach clients about quotas, I go, you want the quota low because when people are over quota, they're more confident and more likely to sell more.
Yes.
And it's
absolutely.
Like the income thing can be adjusted through math, but the emotional thing of crushing your number, now feeling good about yourself that you can sell, has just an enormous impact on them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really all about making progress and seeing visually something that represents that progress. That's one of the things that opens up our unconscious mind and makes it so much easier, right, to keep going and to keep doing it and improving and making it better and better.
So what were the routines that you went through to change these beliefs and reinforce them day to day?
So I'll actually give a link at the end to the 3-step technique to do this. So just everybody that's maybe driving right now listening to this, don't get in a crash trying to write it down. You'll have it at the end. But it's 3 steps. And the first step is really the awareness of it, right? So what are my limiting beliefs? And that's going to be somewhat of a surprise, because you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You're probably thinking, oh, I just have one, right? That's what I thought until I did step 1 of the technique. And I had a whole page of limiting beliefs that were holding me back. And these are all like, operating systems or files that you keep open on your computer or your mobile device all day long, and they just suck out the juice, right? And pretty soon you're just dead. You're exhausted. And your machine can't work. It's the same exact thing, only limiting beliefs, and then they just keep anchoring to hold you back, to hold you firmly in place where you are, right? So that's step 1, really unearthing all of them. Then step 2 is writing the exact opposite, which coincides with the name of my book, Unlimiting Your Beliefs. So you write the unlimited version of it. So my limiting belief, or the main one that I had at the time, was I can't possibly compete in the Ironman World Championships. And so the opposite of that, very simply, and that's the other thing about this is so simple. It's just like Occam's razor, right? The simplest solution is usually the right one. Well, this is the same thing, because our unconscious mind is a simple, very simple, yet infinitely powerful machine, right? So, yeah. So then the unlimiting version of that is, I will compete in the Ironman World Championships. Okay, so then step 3 is you've got to change that thought pattern and interrupt it when it's happening. Okay. So you get to do fun things like, as you're going throughout your day and you think or say that limiting belief, you stop yourself right then and say out loud, no matter where you are, and this is why it's fun, I will compete in the Ironman World Championships, or I will scale my business to be the number 1 in our category, or whatever it is. And I'll be real with you. I got some chuckles and some points and some side eyes, and like, wow, that gal is crazy. What is she doing? She's talking to herself. And I brought those people along with me. Anytime they did that, I would just say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Yeah. What is your dream? What is your dream that you're not pursuing? And here's the cool part. Every human has one. And that builds an instant connection with that person. Because every time thereafter I would run into them, they would run up to me and go, or they would call me or email me or whatever and say, hey, this is my dream. And I never would have realized it until you asked me that question. And now here's what I'm doing to pursue it. Really, really cool stuff.
Did you study neurolinguistics programming? And no?
I did after, yes.
Okay.
But, I have a traditional Bachelor of Science degree in applied management, which was why I was a leader, of course. Yeah. But then after I discovered this, yes, then I wanted to be, the pioneer in this space. I wanted to be considered a subject matter expert. I always wanted to have a resource or a tool or a concept or a model to go to for anyone that I worked with. I never wanted to be, that person that was like, ooh, and professional level certification in coaching, professional coaching and executive coaching. And, I've been doing this for, over 25 years.
Yeah. So what I heard is when you feel that statement, that belief, you sense it. You interrupt it.
Yeah.
So which starts to disconnect it from the next steps. Yes. You replace the next steps with what you want.
Yes.
And you say it out loud, which gives a much tighter attachment to it.
Yeah, what you're doing is starting to rewire that connection or that thought pattern that's been ingrained with a new one that you want. And the other thing that happens is your unconscious mind actually hears it. So verbalization is an excellent way to change patterns and to actually recognize and become acutely aware of what you're thinking and what you're doing. And it's a key to processing, right? And so the other thing that happens is once your unconscious mind hears it, it's a machine that's meant to take action to make things easier for you to achieve, right? Yeah. So it immediately will start doing that. Yeah. It's just like it's actually called your reticular activation system. Yep. Yeah. So just like when you decide you're buying a new car, and let's say it's a Lexus, whatever, you never saw that car on the road before, and now it's everywhere. Now you see it all the time, right? That's an example of how your reticular activation system jumps into action to find it for you. The third thing that it does is it starts to change your identity.
Of who you are.
Yes, of who you are, how you see yourself. So even before I crossed the finish line at the Ironman, I already was an Ironman. I already was a triathlete because I had been saying it so much that was my thought pattern and that was my identity. Made it so much easier to actually then carry out the goal or the dream.
Now, with these limiting beliefs, did you segment them, prioritize them, chunk them down, or did you just go at it? Take the whole sheet and just go at it?
Well, I'm pretty much an overachiever by nature, so I just took the whole sheet and, went at it every day.
Yeah. But with your clients, is that what you recommend? Or you'd say like, okay, what's the most important one that's the easiest to change that'll get you the biggest result?
Great question. Yes. I do not recommend doing what I did. Don't do that. So what we do is set up the top 5 or less goals and objectives in order of priority. Meaning, usually I ask them to start off with, what is the number one biggest, most important thing that you would like to achieve? And then I ask them, okay, what's getting in your way of that? Yeah. Why haven't you accomplished it yet? Why haven't you even pursued it yet? And that is the number one goal we pursue. Then we do that to identify 2, 3, 4, 5, no more than 5, because it's really tough to effectively and efficiently, work on 5 things and maybe several things within each one at once.
And how do you reinforce the habit so that you just don't get overwhelmed? I mean,
great question.
Where you just like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm sick of this.
Yes. Great question. So first of all, we use a proprietary system, which is super cool. And I wish I had thought this up because I would be a gajillionaire by now. But it's a system called Coach Accountable. And we track in the metrics function of the system. So when we set up those goals that I just talked about, we actually attach metrics of measurement to each one. Yeah. And we set them up daily at the beginning so that the client has to report in, usually midday. Okay, here's how this is going. Or, I did all right the first part of the day. And then toward midday, it sort of waned as, my energy got low. And then they have sort of a reset midday when they're checking in with it so that they can make changes that afternoon. And it goes like that every single day. And that's also shows up in a visual representation, so a graph or a scale or something like that, and it's colorful. And this, again, is a gateway into the unconscious mind. So once they see that, and they can also make comments, right? A challenge or a win. Oh, this was a big breakthrough. This felt great. This went really well. Or, oh my gosh, this was so difficult. Here's what I was feeling, or here's what I encountered. So that then, we as coaches can come alongside them and open up that dialogue, open up that comment. And then, they can still keep making forward progress and they're seeing it, right? So that's what makes it really easy to keep going.
Now, I'm sure you've run into the situation where you're at the work level goals, mm-hmm. but what you're seeing is their lifestyle goals or lifestyle habits are so atrocious that they have lost the mental and physical energy to execute. They overeat, they eat the wrong things, they don't do any kind of movement, exercise. And that's why at 2:00 in the afternoon, they're dead tired. Have you ever tried to, okay, we got to start with the foundation. We got to get.
Oh, of course. Yeah, organically, we get into those things, right? Because we'll go to the root cause first.
Yeah.
Whatever is, at the root of it that is causing the issue or the pattern. And then by us unearthing that, then it sort of loosens up these other things, right? Forces them to bubble up to the surface like, a lifestyle behavioral pattern. And then it's much easier to deal with, right? Rather than if we went the opposite direction and just sort of went layer by layer and said, okay, so what's stopping you with that? And they said, well, I drink energy drinks and I don't ever exercise and, and I eat poorly, I eat fast food. Then it would take a lot longer.
Yes.
We'd have to, change that one behavioral pattern and then look for the next one and then look for the next one. Whereas doing the opposite, root cause unearths, all of them, loosens them all up, brings them to the surface. And then we can actually work with several at one time because it's usually the same kind of thing that is causing all of them, which is the root.
Yeah. And how long does this typically take? Where people start to see real results?
Well, we start off with a 6-month engagement, but the cool part is clients report back to us, and we're talking twice a month about this stuff and interacting with them, through the system in the metrics piece every day, every week, and so we see this. But usually around the 5-week mark, they've already achieved that first round of goals and objectives.
Yeah.
Man, they are excited. They are stoked. They're like, wow, I can't believe I achieved this big thing that I had held myself back from for so long in such a rapid period of time. Now I want to work on this and this and this and this and this. Can we do that?
Yeah.
And it's truly amazing. But see, that's the power of the unconscious mind, right? And tapping into actually how it works and how it sets up behavioral patterns. And that then those just they just keep on living and playing over and over until you change them.
And that's it, because that 5 weeks is kind of like the standard or typical habit building time frame, isn't it?
Well, I've seen 66 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be right around 5 weeks. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you kind of get that compounding, because now those habits are subconscious. They're automatic.
Yeah.
They don't have to do the checklist. The checklist is already natural. The old ones have been replaced by the new ones. And now you can start building the snowball.
Absolutely. Yeah. That provides a great platform for us to start building, the rest of the house on. And they've also now got a structure to use. So clients will often say to me, gosh, I was in this meeting, or I had this decision point I was at, and I heard your words in my head.
Yeah.
Like, you were asking me the questions you always ask me, to help me through this. This is awesome. Yeah. And then they start to see things differently than they have in the past. They start to recognize their own behavior and the behavioral patterns of others. So, for C-suite leaders, this is imperative that you can see past your own behavioral patterns so that you can identify others and you can bring out their best. You can help them, you can coach them and help them think at a higher level when you're not around, because that's really what you want from them.
Cool. Tell us about the book.
So it's called Unlimiting Your Beliefs, 7 Keys to Greater Success in Your Personal and Professional Life. So it is the other 6 keys, along with the limiting beliefs key that I already mentioned, that I found through my journey and using my story as a backdrop, because we all learn much easier and quickly through story, right, that we can relate to, that has an emotional component. And that it's these 6 other keys that I learned through that journey, through the neurosciences, that help you in your personal and professional life. Because that's the other thing I want to point out. Even though our gateway in the coaching work that we're doing is through professional goals, they're always intertwined with our personal habits and thought patterns.
Right.
Yeah. They aren't separate or siloed.
Cool. And how about the timing of it and the formats that it's coming out in?
So it was released last year.
Okay.
And it has received wide critical acclaim, named Amazon #1 hot new release, and also received a 5-star review from Brian Tracy, for anybody who knows who that is.
Sure. This audience will. Yeah.
He's older than me, so I'm not sure anyone listening will know who that is. But if you do, you get a gold star. He's a very prolific, successful business book writer. So, and it's on Kindle. It's available in hardback or paperback version everywhere books are sold. And as soon as I get to a certain threshold in sales, I will be able to do the Audible.
Yeah, cool. And where can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me at the name of my company, which is Velocity Leadership Consulting.com/greater, meaning you want greater success.
So what beliefs do you have that are limiting you? I'd start with, what are your health beliefs? Are you, I'm not good at exercise. I don't like to exercise. I don't like vegetables. That was one of my big ones. I was pretty much a meat and potatoes guy from Boston, and all of a sudden, I found out that heart disease runs in my family, and I got a kind of a big chill. And I started doing research, and it was like, maybe, an all meat diet is not the right thing. So I got into juicing. Now, I got to tell you, my belief was accurate for quite a while. That I did not enjoy drinking juice for a long time. But I'd say it took a couple months before I started to like it. Today, I crave it. Not that I'd rather it than a steak, but if I don't have it, I start getting antsy, like I'm missing out on my coffee in the morning or something. And now I juice every day. And I juice stuff that most people who juice couldn't swallow, like this huge kale things, stuff that just tasted awful when I started, but now I enjoy the taste. I love it. Now, was it a belief? Yeah, part of it was a belief, but all of a sudden, if you believe that it is so good for you that you've got to get on it, that you do it. Same with exercise. It's like everybody, I don't have time. That's the big one, right? Or I'm not a runner or a walker or a breather. I don't like exercise. And I bet if you talk to everyone who does exercise, no one started saying, you know what? I'd like to really struggle, be in pain, and ache for a good hour every day. Nobody did that. But what ends up happening is the belief switches at a certain point where all of a sudden it goes from something that's unpleasant to something that is tolerable and then to pleasant. And I'm not saying that this is easy. And the example we gave in the interview is somebody who's clearly an overachiever, very direct, highly focused. Now, that may not be you today, but it could be you if you believed it. Because we are building our own cages and locking ourselves in with our own key, and the key is in our hand, and we complain to the world, please change. And we're seeing this all the time on TV, the victimhood. And it's okay to feel that you've been victimized, because I have been in significant ways in my life. And I basically come to the belief I will not give it 1 second of my energy anymore. It is a history lesson in my life that I will not repeat. So I try and move forward. But guess what? It still hurts. I get it. We're human. But in sales, we've got, what is the belief set that would work for us? What do I hear? My customers aren't online. I'm not good at social. I'm not good with video. I'm not good with verbal. I'm not good with the written word. Okay, maybe you're not, but you can get better, and you can become good enough to get in that top 1% that's making $500,000 $1 million a year. It's kind of up to you. And trust me, I've gone through the whole wave of the age thing. I've seen the gender thing, and I've seen the ethnic thing, and I've seen just the opposite work in every case. So you can't say that it's not possible. You know it's possible. I was the youngest guy at the company that I was the top sales rep for. And I've seen the oldest guy at the company be the top rep. I've seen all kinds of things. I've got guests coming on who are going to talk about the number one insurance rep that he ever known, and describing it was the least likely salesperson you'd ever imagine. But that's a future episode. So, hey, to give you an update on the course, if you're not interested in the course, you can stop here and you don't have to listen any further. If you're in the courses, make sure you're checking out the updates on the one-on-ones and the office hours. I record all of those and I put them into the course. They're the very bottom chapters. If you want to schedule a one-on-one, it's in the very first chapter. There's a calendar link. Just schedule it, whichever time works for you. Tell me a little bit about what you'd like to cover. Don't need gory details. And then make sure you use the Zoom link. We do a screen share on the one-on-ones. It's a 30-minute coaching call with me, nobody else. It's 100% anonymous. So don't worry about any proprietary things. I don't turn the recorder on until I have your permission. And after I turn it off, we can talk further. Those are included in the course. Unlimited number. You want to do it once a week, twice a week, whatever, once a month, once a year, whatever makes sense to you, we do that. Office hours every other Friday per course, hour-long Q&A. It starts right at the time, and we go as long as there are questions. So if you come in late, okay, you got to catch up. You get access to it for a whole year. So whether you want to do it, rush through it, or take your time, you get the whole year to go through it. You can pay for it all at once or in 12 monthly installments. Automatically takes off your credit card or PayPal. Up to you. And the results that people are getting are incredible. Hey, did I tell you that there's a birthday coming up? It's today. Today is on the 10th. The 10-year anniversary of me talking into a microphone or a computer for this podcast. 10 years ago today, I opened my MacBook Pro in my kitchen and I babbled on about the Maverick selling method and the complex sale. And I've been posting super regularly, probably for the last 5 years, and intermittently for the first 5 years. There was 1 year where it was a kind of a hiatus, but pretty much almost early days was almost every month. Then I stopped for a while. Then I really got serious about it probably 5 years ago, and started doing 2 a week and trying to bring you the very best sales ideas, sales experts that I possibly could. So also check out the Sales Questions, Brutally Honest Answers podcast. You can learn more about the courses at b2brevenue.com. So the process is go to b2brevenue.com, hit the training tab, and then there's a link to the courses. If the courses make sense for you, if you're trying to get into more accounts faster and easier without cold calling, it's a system. Then you schedule the time, go back to b2brevenue.com. Under training, there's a calendar link. We can get right on my calendar. And we can talk it over, answer any questions you have, talk about what you want to accomplish. Before the call, I'll check you out on LinkedIn. I'll learn about you, your company, what you're doing. So you don't need to brief me on that. What I'm interested in is what you would like to accomplish in that year, whether it's getting into new accounts or winning more deals, increasing your income, making your job a little bit better, becoming great at sales. Imagine investing a whole year in yourself. You know, you put 4 years into college. What'd it get you? God forbid, a bunch of debt. That's what it got me. Just a bunch of debt and a hanking for beer. That's what it got me. This will get your income at least 2x. So if the money's the thing, you got to ask yourself, are you focused on the right thing? That's it. We'll see you next time.